Hello everyone. Today I want to run you through how I put these two pages together. It's a design that I've done purely on the Cricut. So everything you see here is cut on the Cricut. I've just added a few little personal touches like some sponging that I wanted to show you how I did. And I also wanted to point out to you that even these lines that are drawn here on these squares are using the Cricut. So you can do things with the Cricut machine and make it draw and look like you've drawn all these things in yourself, and really jazzes up the page. The sunflowers are just gorgeous. I love how they look. It makes me feel happy when I see sunflowers, and there is a place not far from here that does grow them every year. So I can't wait to see them pop up again, and then I'll have some photos to put on here. So let's get started, and I will take you through how I put this page together. Now you will have seen that some of the squares have to be cut into triangles. So the thing that you've got to bear in mind just with one of these squares is the way the pattern runs on this fern pattern paper. I want to make sure that it's all going the same way. So when I go to cut my triangles, I need to make sure that the angle is always going the same way. And I just find it easiest to do it on my little trimmer. Line up the points like so, and just slice it. So I'll put those aside. The other thing we're going to do is some sponging. I've done it on the edges of these petals, on this decorative piece here for the sunflower for the middle. I've done it on the leaves, just a little bit of sponging, and I've also done a bit of sponging on the title and also on the little strip. So I've done most of it, so you don't have to watch me do all of it, but we'll start with the sunflower. Now the sunflower is actually cut out of canary cardstock, and I don't have canary ink, but I'm using the new Sundance ink. And I'm just going to use the daubers. So you'll notice with the sunflowers that the light shade of the canary is the base, and the dark side of the canary is the layer. And if you cut things out on the Cricut, it's good to mirror these images, so the little white notches are on the back side. Now I'm not going to do much to this. I'm just going to do just the tips of these. And I've just got some scratch photocopy white paper underneath. And that didn't take very long to do, and you can just see it gives a nice decorative edge. So that's it for the Sundance ink. I love this new colour. And I use just our regular dot adhesive tape runner, or you can use glue. And I just lightly go around the edges and some in the middle. And with lining it up, there is one petal that sort of points downwards. So I'm just going around and around until I find that one. And there it is there. And lining this up, sticking to my fingers. I can put that on. And then to give the centre a little bit more texture, I've got espresso on the light side for the base layer, and espresso on the dark side for the top layer. I'll just move this along so you can see, and I'm going to use espresso ink and my sponge dauber again. I'm not going to go all the way to the centre. I'm just going to go around and dab, just to give a little bit of depth and texture to this shape, so that it's just not a flat colour. And it doesn't take very long to do, just to give a little bit of depth to this. So once again, I'm just going to use the dot adhesive. You can actually see really well with this one, if I hold it up. See how there's little white pieces? Because our cardstock has a white core, you get that. So in Cricut Design Space, you can mirror your image and make sure that you put the colour down on the mat, face down on the mat, the colour that you want to cut, and then these little white bits aren't going to show. Or you could just flip it in Design Space itself. Now to adhere this, I'm just going to crinkle up before I put my centerpiece in. I'm just going around with my fingers and flipping the edges of these petals up just to give a little bit of texture. It will get, of course, pressed down a bit once you put it inside a page protector, but it just makes them look a bit more realistic than perfect little flowers. And I'm going to do the same with this center, but I'm going to crease it the opposite way so it sort of layers up a little bit. And then with some foam tape, I'm using the 3D thick foam tape. Only want a little bit for the center. Can pop that on. And then place that into the center of my sunflower. And then I'm going to go with my fingernail around and just pick up these little extra pieces of the petal just to give a little bit more dimension to them. So that's our little sunflower ready to put on the page. The next thing I'm going to ink up are the leaves. Now these are cut with fern, so I'm just going to use fern ink, but I'm not going to sponge all over it. It's just random stamping. I'm not sure if you can see, I'll hold this up close to the camera, that they're not all totally sponged. It's just, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just adding a little bit more ink. This is an older stamp pad. Doesn't have the magnetic closures that our new ones do, but it's the same fern colour. And with the dark side of the fern, I'm just going to go along and add a little bit of depth and texture to the leaves. I just find this sort of treatment makes them look a little bit more realistic. So that's it for that. And I've done all the other leaves, so you don't have to watch me. And the next thing we're going to do is the title. And I don't know if you can see it really well here, but there is a difference between this one that I haven't inked and this one that I have. And I'm doing exactly the same thing with espresso ink that I did with the leaves. Just doing some random daubing on it. And it's a bit hard to pick up on camera, but it sort of gives a velvety look. And as I said, I'm not sponging the whole entire area of the shape. Okay, so that's the bit done for the inking. I'll just adhere this T, and then we'll get to putting our page together. Oh, I should bring back this paper. What I like to do with titles sometimes is to layer them, and usually I offset it a bit so the drop part of it comes down to the bottom and underneath the title. I used to do a lot of this at school to give my work a bit more polish to it. Hopefully the teachers would look at that and not the content. They'd look at the titles and think I put in a heck of a lot of work on the actual project itself. Alright, so let's assemble the page. So it's easier to start with the top corners. I've placed these so that they're in the corners. I'm just going to lay them out on the page so I know where to start. And these I'm going to butt right up against each other, and I'm mindful also of where the floral areas are for this gorgeous sunflower print from Bloom with Grace, because I want as much of those flowers to show as possible. And as I said, when I'm putting down these pattern pieces, I want to make sure that my patterns all run the same way. So let's get sticking these down, and I'll fast forward this part so you don't have to sit and watch everything that I do. So the first one, as I just said before, I'm just making sure I put it up in that corner, and then I can build from there. And that's how I've designed this page, so there's a nice starting point for everything. So up in that corner, excuse my head if it's in the way, I just want to make sure I get this first one lined up. Okay, and now we'll fast forward everything, and you can watch me on speed dial for assembly. With this bottom corner, I've lined this one up, and I'll trim off the excess with my scissors. So just flip it over. Would help if I put it on straight. And it's always easier to trim from the back. So I can just trim that bit off and get to assembling the rest of this. Right, so that's the left-hand page all stuck together, came together pretty quickly. I love how the Cricut just cuts everything out, and once the design has been made, it makes it really quick to stick everything down. So we'll move right along to the right side now, and I'll just bring that in. I've got this little triangle left over that I cut off from this piece here before, so I can just simply start here. This one's only got one down in this corner, and then I can go ahead and adhere all the other ones ready to go. So let's get started doing that, and I'll speed the process up again for you. Just going to snip a little bit of this off so that it doesn't go all the way up over the photo. And when I adhere this one, I'm just going to make sure that it doesn't go over where my photo is going to go. The foam tape. So it's just going to pop down in that corner, and then I'll be able to slide my photo, or this could be a journal box as well. So that is the double page spread. Don't know if I can capture it all in shot here, but with a bit of dimension with the sunflowers, it just creates that added extra interest to it. So 2 pages all done, very quick to put together. I'm not quite sure what photos I'm going to put with this as yet. So I've put this here as a 4x4 trim photo, but if I have a lot of journaling to do, I can either put in a flip flap and flip it up and have journaling underneath, or I can just make this into a journal mat if I've only got 4 photos for the page. So I'm just keeping it a little bit flexible. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.